Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Associated
did you guys hear
Guest.
that a lot of the accusations?
I'm your host, Alfie Adams, here at the Bear in Mind channel. And today, oh boy, it's quite a day. We have, apparently it's come out that Blizzard, in fact, used things such as Me Too allegations and more to try to purposefully tank the gaming and, honestly, other entertainment industries were probably done about the same. We also have people working for Halo, 343 Industries or 343 Studios. As we all know, they were Marvel and such were hiring people who weren't familiar with the franchises, or they wanted people who didn't know anything about the comics. Now it comes out that 343 wanted to hire people who hated the franchise. And then we'll get into Elleniot Page proving that she's just kind of a retard who's got a lot of trauma induced with a lot of drug use that makes you some kind of pseudo philosopher. Hey, good morning, Nuka. But that being said, let's get into it.
Accusations from Blizzard were proven to be untrue. In case you didn't know, all of the allegations of sexual misconduct, abuse, harassment, and quote frat boy culture were entirely fake, and the state of California even admitted that there was no evidence substantiating any of the claims.
I mean, you've seen this a lot with a lot of the Me Too claims coming to be not true, whether it be Duke Lacrosse. I believe that was the one where they hired a prostitute and that she claimed that they all took turns raping her, and then later came out and said that that was untrue. Also, Mattress Girl, another one who carried around a mattress for clout. I can't remember what she was actively going for when it came to what she would get from that other than attention, and then it turned out that was untrue. And you have to understand, while, yes, rape does happen, to convince people that regular acts of getting to know each other and advances are all considered rape is absolutely ridiculous, and it has killed dating culture along with dating apps. But anyway, that aside, let's get into more of
Entire
this.
controversy around Blizzard was set up by California to force the company to stop hiring white men, using Me Too allegations to strong-arm them. Some of the accusations were so bizarre and insane that they included theft and consumption of breast milk during work hours.
Which, come on, theft and consumption of breast milk. How do you steal breast milk? One, do you keep it in? Like, are they keeping it in a refrigerator or something so they can feed a kid? Or, like, I don't even understand how this happens. Bruh, I saw this with Tectone, right? Like, it's all over the place right now. It's insane.
A rape room named after Bill Cosby. Sexual harassment to the point of an employee ending her life. All of these claims were essentially a theater performance over the fact...
And what's really crazy is a lot of people have put forth false allegations, and those people have ended their life. And I'm sure something like this could happen, maybe has happened, but definitely not in the cases that were brought forward.
That only 1 in 5 Blizzard employees were women. As a result, Blizzard agreed to pay roughly $18 million in fines and set up HR hiring practices that would discriminate against white men. Internal messages between California...
And that's all this really is. Like, I will never understand. Look, I'm not a fan of a lot of white people. I mean, there's a bunch of, stereotypical rich assholes. There's the stereotypical athlete who peaks in college. There's all these stereotypical types. I'm not a fan of them. That being said, thankfully, I'm not surrounded by them a lot. But I will have to deal with one later today.
California Civil Rights Division officials showed the entire thing was a ploy to send a message to the industry to literally ruin video games.
Just for additional context, I'm just going to read the court filing. No court or any independent investigation has substantiated any allegations that there has been systemic or widespread sexual harassment at Activision Blizzard, that Activision Blizzard senior executives ignored, condoned, or tolerated a culture of systemic harassment, retaliation, or discrimination. Unlike its customer base of...
Hold on. This is what happens when we don't punish people who commit false allegations investigations. Sure, it will never stop, and but if we don't make an example of these criminals, way more people will do it. No, and I saw stuff like this in the Army, where the guy got falsely accused, and they did actually punish the person that falsely accused them. But while he got, I think, like 8 years, she was punished. She only got 30 days. She was in and out of jail before he ever was released, after he was, after showing that she lied. And that's one of the things, but that's just in the military, where you get punished for even putting yourself in a situation a lot of the time as a man. There were signs when I was in the military that said something like, Heather is drunk, Josh is drunk, Heather and Josh have sex. The next morning, Josh gets arrested for rape because Heather can't consent. Well, I mean, Josh was drunk too. Like, what are we talking about?
Increasingly diverse players, defendants' workforce is only about 20% women. Its top leadership is also exclusively male and white. The CEO and president roles are now and have always been held by white men. Very few women ever reach top roles at the company. The women who do reach higher roles earn less salary, incentive pay, and total compensation than their male peers.
It's usually because they've been working for the company a lot less time, or they've been working in the industry a lot less time. Not because that they're female, if they even actually get paid less to begin with. Also, men are more likely to argue for higher salaries, whereas women generally don't. I didn't mean to do that.
And announced that it would discriminate, and its hiring state was walked back from a $1 billion lawsuit to a $55 million settlement, and announced that all of the allegations were fake. And generally, sort of behavior is called extortion and racketeering. If they had the proof and everything, why did the state say there was no evidence after the investigation? Chris Kalicki, he used to work at Blizzard. He was one of the main designers for Monks back in the day. Even Jason Schreier admits in his latest book that the Cosby Suite was a fake nothing burger and Kotaku was full of shit. But the damage was done.
What? Kotaku's full of shit?
Developers had, in some cases, 20.
Next thing you're going to say that Polygon was full of shit, or that BuzzFeed isn't actual real news.
Year careers ruined since nobody wanted to hire, quote, problematic developers when it was all fake. Heartbreaking and infuriating. Keep in mind that Jason Schreier also posted some total bullshit about Chris Kalicki's studio. Video game staff, video game firms, viral. Yeah, there it is. It's pretty wild that in 2021, a new game studio still looks like this.
Who cares? As long as the job's getting done, the fans are happy, the game is selling, who cares? Unless they are actively only trying to hire white people specifically, white males specifically, unless they have that on the books, or someone has been recorded saying that we only want to hire straight white males. Who gives a shit? Who gives a shit? It does not matter. Yes, gaming is primarily, especially when it comes to mainstream game, or the main fandom of gaming, is straight white males. Yes, there are a lot of people from other races. There are a lot of female that likes to play video games. There are a lot of gay people, some trans folk, whatever. The important thing is people aren't purposefully holding back any race, including white people, any orientation, whatever, strictly on the base of their race. That's all that matters. This post is a nothing burger. It's retarded. Who cares? As long as these guys are doing a good job. If they're not doing a good job, then fucking fire them. But if they're doing a good job, shut the fuck up, Jason Schreier, or however you say that stupid ass name. They don't get equal pay because they don't work the same. No, exactly. A lot of men are more willing to work extra hours. They're a lot more willing to do crappier parts of jobs that most people don't want to do, which is why, you'll see a lot more guys doing stuff like plumber, or working anything involving you having to go to the sewer. I don't know anything about those jobs, thankfully, but they do pay very well.
So this is a person who tried to attack Chris Kalicki's studio, Notorious, because they didn't have enough black people or women. This is way worse. Is it really? Here's a hot take. I like the Avowed way more than Claire Obscure. Cancel him. you know, you see posts like this and you think to yourself, this person is just not, they're just retarded. So the entire investigation and everything that happened was totally proven to be bullshit.
I never played Clair Obscured. I need to, but I did dabble in a little bit of Avowed. A friend of mine played it just for funsies, so I was over hanging out with them and played a bit of it, and I was just like, There's also another game. I bought it Relooted, which is a game where you're just black people stealing stuff. It's basically the opening scenes from Killmonger from the Black Panther movie. It's basically that. You're stealing African artifacts because you can, because you're black, even though you've never been to Africa.
Because nobody cares about Blizzard anymore. Blizzard doesn't make any good games because they fired everybody that makes good games.
Which is one of the things that's crazy about, like, it's okay, like, no one bats an eye when a black dude is way into African culture, even though he's never been to Africa. He just, you know, didn't even really trace his roots, just knows that black people are from Africa. But if someone, like a white dude's really obsessed with, like, Viking culture, then they're just like, that guy's gay. But anyway, moving on. A little bit more in depth with Rev.
Hey, what's up guys, Rev here. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about a very serious situation, an update on possibly the biggest controversy in the gaming industry involving Activision Blizzard. Now, I'm sure a lot of you guys have at one point or another came across this series of allegations made against this company where there was systemic abuse and discrimination going on in the company. This was something that was reported by outlets like Kotaku back in 2021 and by journalists like Jason Schreier, who even wrote a book, a New York Times best-selling book, trying to release all of these allegations, and well, all these parties have been awfully silent ever since it was discovered.
He looks like he sits in a chair in the corner of the room while his girlfriend or wife has sex.
That Activision Blizzard settled with the California government for
I'm not implying
$54 million.
anything. I'm just saying.
But in that same settlement, it was revealed that no investigation substantiated any of the allegations against Activision Blizzard. In the last 5 years, we have seen countless lives, careers, and reputations destroyed by these allegations, many believing it's fact because it was reported by so many different outlets, but here we are. And now we pick up the pieces. The truth is coming out.
It's almost as if people with lots of money are actively funding and pushing these mainstream narratives. Remember Gamergate? Remember how it all started? Pepperidge Farm remembers.
And, well, it's not what the media was portraying. Can you believe that, ladies and gentlemen? Well, let me give you the timeline of events. Let me take it back to 2021 when major outlets were reporting on a series of very serious allegations against the company, ranging from sexual harassment to discriminatory practices and some very specific allegations we'll get into in just a
And you know what's really crazy about this? Have you noticed the sharp decline of Overwatch specifically, but Activision as a whole, since Blizzard as a whole, since this whole thing started? I have. It's been awful. While I like Marvel Rivals and I'm more familiar with the characters that are in it, there's just something about how Overwatch was. Mostly, I miss Zenyatta. There's no Zenny action in Marvel Rivals, and it sucks. It sucks. I hate it. The games, again, it's a lot better. It's arguably better gameplay, but I don't know. I just can't get into it.
it's the second, but it
Like a librarian, I think you should check out Steven Universe Season 1. Oh, yeah? But it takes... You know, I've never watched Steven Universe, but my curiosity's piqued now that the apparently flamboyantly gay woman from that show has been outed as a MAGA person. And has been... I'm just like, who cares? Like, I don't even really care if a character from a show that I love comes out as anything. as long as they keep their fucking mouth shut about politics, at least when they're advertising the show. Like if they're doing their own thing where they're representing themselves, just like, hey, how you doing? I stopped by the show once a year just to say hi, even if I'm not working on something, then that's fine. I could give a shit. But if you're advertising the show, keep your politics and your religion, your whatever. Talk about your personal life, maybe, but mostly you're there to talk about the movie or the game or the song or the whatever you're doing. But no, I'll definitely see. And the hardest thing is the copyright bit for that. I might. Stuff like that, I do need to work on flipping it and putting a big watermark down the middle so I can maybe get away with some of that stuff. I know this is somewhat spoiling, but Steven Universe is one of the cartoons that pulled one of the biggest plot twists. I mean, spoilers don't really bother me. I usually, before I go in and watch a movie, I usually know a lot about what's going to happen, and I still go in and look at it as though I had no idea. I'm just like, whoa, that's how they did it. Or... yeah, that probably would have sucked anyway.
It wasn't private citizens who raised this lawsuit. Instead, it was the state of California itself. And throughout these allegations, we had the infamous Bill Cosby suites, which of course was portrayed as a literal abuse room, where all of these Activision Blizzard employees would take women in and abuse them.
And this kind of thing, it's a little on the nose. Usually when something is this blatant, the person would have been caught outside of the person or parties involved would have been caught outside of these scenarios described in said lawsuits. Absolutely. It would have been one of those things that you heard about for a long time, like Kevin Spacey's basement. The actress for Amy... Big Bang Theory is pretty based. Amy, that's the one that used to be. She's the Jewish one, right? She in real life, the one that dates. I've never. The one that says you're in my spot. Sorry, I've never really watched. The only Big Bang Theory I ever really watched was when a character from Roseanne showed up on it. Because the guy, one of the main guys, is from Roseanne. He played David on Roseanne. I can't think of the name because, like I said, I watched it some, but I never really watched a whole lot. But and she wasn't she on a show like Blossom, one of those really crappy teenage shows in the 90s. But yeah, Mayim Bialik, that's right. Yeah, no, she's pretty based in real life, of course. The funny thing was, I did see one interview where she said, they asked her, what's it like to have to pretend to be smart all the time? And she said something like she has an actual crazy degree. Like, she's like, well, I'm actually an astrophysicist. And she's like, oh my God. Well, anyway, next. But it was pretty awesome. She's like, I'm not just pretending to be smart. I'm actually brilliant. And which is why, like you said, she's so based.
And we also had the very interesting situation. They were accused of drinking the milk of Manaroth, ladies and gentlemen. Yep, that's right.
The milk of Manaroth, like, what's that, semen? No, that's breast milk, okay.
Seen probably at one time or another where Activision Blizzard employees were accused of stealing breast milk from the female employees. And during all...
like, how would they even do that? Like, would they just knock them unconscious and instead of doing horrible, disgusting things that you should be killed or castrated for, they would milk them? Like, this is some weird shit. This is something that, and no offense, this is something that only sad, lonely spinster women could come up with. The kind that write books like, what's it? The milking farm, the Minotaur Milking Farm, or whatever that one's called that I covered months ago. Yeah.
All this, it wasn't just one settlement that we're looking at. There was a series of attempted settlements for years, but every time a settlement was about to be reached, the state of California blocked it.
She's a neuroscientist and had a minor in Hebrew and Jewish studies, so that explains it.
and began to ask for more and more, including at one point up to $1 billion.
See, and that's the thing. I don't know why they brought breast milk. Like, I don't know if they brought it. Again, maybe they had a kid or something for some reason, or maybe they pumped all day while their kid was at daycare or being raised by her parents. Or who the hell knows? Or maybe it was just part of some weird hippie yuppie diet. And they're just like stealing food in the fridge, and someone's like, "Oh, someone stole my breast milk," and that became a thing. All of these are equally feasible, honestly. To say, not very.
But during all of this, we saw many attempts by Activision Blizzard to do damage control, where they're pledging to add resources to ensure that Activision Blizzard's hiring practices were more diverse, making it clear that they were going to hire people based on their identity and not their merit, which is something that has a very clear impact on the quality of the games that they're producing. But all this was not enough for a lot of the Activision Blizzard employees, including 1,000 of them who petitioned to remove the CEO, and they staged protests and walkouts like this. And looking around, this is the most 2021 image I think you could ever produce. And looking around, it's very obvious that this impacted the quality of the games. As a World of Warcraft player myself, things have definitely changed the quality of the games.
Hold on. Fight bad guys in game, fight bad guys IRL in real life. Most of these people, I can almost guarantee you, most of, if any of these people, do not play video games at all. At all. They had to do like Anita Sarkeesian did and research it without actually playing any.
And looking around, it's very obvious that this impacted the quality of the games. As a World of Warcraft player myself,
Sweet
things have definitely...
Lord. This is the same thing where you had that really... Hold on. This reminds me of a picture that came out of Dungeons and Dragons.
Changed over the years.
Gay.
We ended up with pride events. We also ended up with bizarre meme-worthy images like this, with one of the most powerful mages in the universe, Khadgar, reduced to a floating pink wheelchair. A guy who could literally fly and pretty much do anything he wants, decided to plant himself in a pink wheelchair. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this is gaming in the current time, am I right? But there's also a lot of regret in the company, including this clip that I'm going to share, where World of Warcraft bosses are talking about how they regret calling the game...
Yeah, this.
World of...
Hold on. This is something that was actually put out by the current people in charge of Wizards of the Coast, which runs Dungeons and Dragons. This one's the most upsetting. Like, I don't care about the rainbow or the use of color or the bard being a little flamboyant. I don't care about these things. I don't care that every single person in here is gay, 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 gay. Not a single straight person in this whole picture. Gay, gay, gay. But this is the most offensive thing if you know anything about D&D lore whatsoever. I don't remember the guy's name. I just remember he's supposed to be one of the scariest creatures in all of D&D. Especially coming at it from someone who's just getting into the lore. I do need to do some D&D deep dives on the channel. Not only will it help me I'm actually going to start playing D&D with some friends. Again, probably this week or next week. I'm going to jump back into my old campaign.
Yeah, I'm Peter, but I'm a warrior monk, the master of the drunken fist.
But yeah. Anyway, sorry. Side tangent over.
Crafts.
And I just want to bring it to...
We should call it Lovecraft, man.
And that means,
but he was a Nazi. Never mind.
Evolving what Warcraft means, what it is, and where it's going. We want it to be approachable, and that's also part of it. You know, even with Chris Metzen, we talk about, sometimes he's like, man, I wish we hadn't called it Warcraft. Sounds kind of intimidating.
But going back...
So dumb.
Back to 2021 and beyond, Kotaku was one of the biggest outlets out there reporting on this almost daily. They released dozens of articles reporting on everything happening. In fact, they even made an article implying that the CEO of Activision Blizzard not only knew about everything happening with these allegations, but was also bad to women himself. Another then Kotaku journalist, Jason Schreier, tried to use this for a profit. Now, you have to understand, this is the go woke, go brrr, top the charts guy who was talking about Dragon Age the Veilguard, trying to masquerade that as a success story based on Steam numbers. And of course, he said that was only to own the chuds. He's also the same guy who has routinely tried to demonize studios for having too many white men in their ranks. He's also the guy who called gamers predators for liking characters like this.
Which, by the way, is just an adult woman with, honestly, ridiculously huge tatas. But, like, I get that's probably too much. But predators, PDF files for this picture of an adult, fully developed woman. Projecting much. Again, let's look at the picture of the person saying this. Which of the two seems more predatory to you? This guy who looks like every episode of Hi, I'm Chris Hansen, or someone who's attracted to a fully developed woman with large tatas. Maybe a bit immature, but I mean, come on.
So the guy who called gamers predators for liking characters like this.
Tatas.
But of course, the big thing with Jason Schreier is that he knew about these supposed allegations for nearly 2 years, and he held on to them to publish them in a book. So if this guy...
Anybody who releases important criminal offenses, allegations, or whatever, and releases them in a book that they get paid for, and those proceeds don't go directly to whatever alleged victims that they're talking about, is either lying or a piece of shit and should probably go to jail for, as well.
Actually
for obstruction
cared
or
about any of
something.
this and believed these women were in danger at their workplace. He waited
Why not both?
2 years to release it in this book because he wanted to monetize it. This is supposed to be the good person, right? And enjoy your New York Times bestseller, but your reputation is absolute garbage now.
He's a New York Times
And
bestseller.
Jason Schreier, Kotaku,
It's kinda sad.
activists, and the state of California have been very quiet ever since this decision has gotten a lot of attention. This is the settlement, where, of course, the main takeaway is that no court or any independent investigation has substantiated any allegations that there has been systemic or widespread sexual harassment at Activision Blizzard, that Activision Blizzard senior executives ignored, condoned, or tolerated a culture of systematic harassment, retaliation, or discrimination. In fact, this post has gone viral, summing up what happened here, saying, in case you didn't know, all the allegations of sexual misconduct, abuse, harassment, and frat boy culture was entirely fake, and the state of California even admitted that there was no evidence substantiating any of the claims. The entire controversy around Blizzard was set up by California to force the company to stop hiring white men, using Me Too allegations to strong-arm them. Some of these accusations were so bizarre and insane that they included theft and consumption of breast milk during work hours, a R-word room named after Bill Cosby, which, by the way, was named after him because of the
So you
very
see,
thick and colorful carpet in the room, which reminded them of a Bill Cosby sweater, but also the sexual harassment to the point of an employee ending their own life. All of these claims were essentially a theater performance over the fact that only 1 in 5 Blizzard employees were women. As a result, Blizzard agreed to pay roughly $18 million in fines and set up HR hiring practices that would discriminate against white men.
which again explains how shitty the games have gotten.
Internal messages between California Civil Rights Division officials showed that the entire thing was a ploy to send a message to the industry to literally ruin video games. It was
Which is
so
which I've never understood. Like, I understand the people at the top could give a shit because they get their checks no matter what. They get their bonuses no matter what. except for whoever has to be the scapegoat of the failures, which is usually whoever the CEO at the time is, but they even usually get a pretty good goodbye package. But I've never understood why people would want to take their own franchises. They spend billions of dollars on franchises like Star Wars or the MCU, which, by the way, after Spider-Man Brand New Day's most recent entry, if Disney did want to buy Spider-Man outright, it would cost them more than it costs to buy the entirety of Fox Studios, probably. More than likely. I mean, just look at that. The highest or second highest, I don't know what it ended up being. I didn't get the last of Sunday's numbers, but it was on the verge of overtaking Avengers Endgame for opening weekend. Absolutely crazy. Do I think it'll make $2 billion? You know, I didn't until I heard that it wasn't in any IMAX screenings, and a lot of people who went to go see it the first weekend, especially for what a visual spectacle it is, especially when it comes to fight choreography, because Jackie Chan's people were the ones doing all of the stunt work and the fight choreography in the movie, apparently. Like, I myself am probably, if I can find a theater after I get paid on Friday that has IMAX, that has a seat available, preferably in the center, I myself will also go see it in IMAX. Because I've only seen 2 movies in IMAX. One of them was Top Gun Maverick, and it was awesome, but it wasn't a real IMAX theater. And the other one was Iron Man 3, where he's not even in the suit more than like 20 minutes.
Fake that Brack and Kotick literally paid their own employees to stage a walkout. After Blizzard capitulated and announced it would discriminate in its hiring, the state walked back from a $1 billion lawsuit to a $55 million settlement and announced that all the allegations were false. And the reaction to this has been explosive. You can see some posts saying, no, the government would never spend time and resources just to ruin your video games.
No, never.
The state of California literally funded the smear campaign against Blizzard.
Blizzard, and pretty much all of my favorite entertainment mediums, Marvel, video games, hell, DC, move to Texas. Move to Texas or Georgia, please, for the love of God. Mostly because I want to work for one of you. But you have to get rid of a lot of things. Mostly everyone you've hired over the last 10 or so years.
Here's another one from Grums, who was a former employee at Blizzard. It was all fake. I had friends at Blizzard telling me how nasty DEI people were digging through emails and Slack messages, trying to cancel people so they could take their jobs. You can see another one saying this freak destroyed the game studio out of jealousy.
Look at him. He definitely
Jason
is.
Schreier here, this absolute weasel, who not only helped lead the charge against Activision Blizzard based on these allegations, he held on to them for 2 years until it was convenient and most monetizable for him through his book. But you still see people defending this situation, saying, how does this get 11K likes for such an obvious lie? Jingling white men oppress keys for Twitter babies. Activision settled for $55 million. Not understanding that the settlement doesn't prove the allegations.
Yeah.
Okay, they admitted in that settlement that there was nothing to substantiate any allegations. People are being willfully ignorant because this is the narrative that has been painted for 5 years.
I will say the settlement
In fact,
does look
a lot of
bad. I
people
wish they
just
hadn't
have
done any
outright
kind of settlement, but
accepted that this is the reality. And the one thing I haven't talked about is the impact on those involved. There are many developers at Activision Blizzard, or current or former, who have had their reputation destroyed by this. They are blackballed from the industry, and it wasn't even that they were personally accused of anything, it was that they were a part of the workplace that was being accused.
Yep.
And of course, that affected not only their job, but their lives. And also with these changes and forced hiring practices, this is also something that affected the quality of games. I mean, it goes all the way down to the customers, ladies and gentlemen. This whole situation is a massive mess and reflects upon the mob mentality of not just the California government, but journalists and all these activists who participated in this massive smear campaign, because that's exactly what it's looking like based on this settlement. Until we know anything else, this looks like it was a giant smear campaign that was led out of many factors: jealousy, activism, trying to force will onto this company to change their practices. I mean, it's all just a giant mess, ladies and gentlemen. But
It
I'm
really
very
is.
curious to hear what you guys think about this. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments section. But for now, that's going to do it for this video. If you enjoyed, please consider giving the video a like, consider subscribing and turning on notifications for daily uploads, as well as multiple streams every week live here on YouTube.
All right.
But overall,
And this next one, I don't know if this is just a I don't know if this is just a remix of the original X-Files movie, which was kind of meh when you think about it.
It's here! Here! It's here!
Cheryl Cunningham, 34. Never made it.
And like I said, this movie wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't the 10 years later X-Files movie that a lot of us wanted when it came out.
Work last night.
If that's what this is. It looks like it. I remember in theaters seeing, like, this is the actual, okay, so this is just the actual original preview. But I remember right here when someone heard him say Scully, and then I heard someone go, wait. And then it showed them right here, and she turned around too. Just screams in the theater. It was great. And then the movie came out, and those screams were quelled.
Promising evidence. A psychic.
I see a face.
And he's actually a really, really good actor for someone who started off in Monty Python.
I see eyes staring out.
But anyway, the movie's pretty decent. We're gonna stop it there because I don't want to get copyright struck again. But I was hoping it was something new, but apparently it's just like saying, "Hey, this is on Disney Plus and Hulu now. Yay!" Okay, anyway.
It is so sad to see a game series as iconic as Halo being in the garbage. Halo has had so many problems over the years, and 343/Halo Studios hiring activists to work on the series hasn't.
I just want to say, 343. Nah. I mean, those are the guys where everyone from Bungie jumped over to make Halo specifically, so the Bungie crew could make Destiny. And they're like, oh, this is the real Halo studio, this is 343. And then they had a couple of decent games, but then everything else has been as we know it, which is not great.
Turn things around for them, and we know that this game clearly has not sold as well as they were anticipating, given they haven't boasted about the numbers on social media, and people are bringing up older interviews where they admitted that they were really hiring people who hated Halo, and gamers are furious all over again. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content,
Real quick, as always, this is the stupidest question ever. This is a choice. This is not. This is forced. Everyone who wears these so people will not rape them. This is just the garb that people who choose the life of the cloth, so to speak, they choose this. They choose to be nuns. And these are just direct servants of God in the Catholic faith, specifically. This is something that Islam forces women to wear from a super young age so that random men don't rape them. There is a difference.
create check out the links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, it should be easy to hire people to work on Halo because it is such an iconic IP that there are millions of people out there who would love to work on this series, and I'm sure hundreds of thousands of game developers who know something about Halo who would respect it better than the DEI hires that are at 343/Halo Studios. It is so depressing to see this happen where they will take it, they will modernize it, but this is just what cultural Marxists do, and there are a lot of those in the video game industry right now. And older interviews and posts from Halo developers and producers have been popping back up over the past couple of days. Halo Studio is being really re-exposed, and you love to see this happen. So,
I mean, you really don't. The only reason you love to see it is because of how much the game has declined over the years. Slowly but surely. But I think it was actually 343 that recently put out a picture of how diverse they've become since they've had pictures of the one we saw previously for Blizzard. I know Blizzard did a similar thing, but it's just like, what does diversity matter? If you all have the same life experience where you went to some lofty college, probably grew up in the suburbs, had a very cushy life, probably had at least one parent that loved you, odds are probably an uncle that did too much, or not, who knows. But most of these people don't have any real trauma. Except for when they stayed with their grandparents one time, they told them no. Whereas their parents just let them do whatever they want, especially if their parents are divorced and are both both have custody and they're both fighting for custody. I've seen it too many times where parents will let their kids get away with anything because they don't want their kids to choose to go live with the other one. Not because they would miss them, but because they don't want to have to give the other parent money.
Not Akira had posted on X, hire people that hate Halo for fresh ideas. Shit all over the IP. IP gets derailed into oblivion. Why did this happen to us? It's always so hilarious to me when these developers will sit here and cry and moan and groan and whine and complain and say, what went wrong? Why did gamers not show up to support our product? And then they turn it into, oh, the chuds just hate us and you're all bigots for not buying our experience, when really you only have yourselves to blame. People will show up to consume really good content. Look at what's happening with Spider-Man right now. It has made over $1 billion in just a handful of days, almost hit the $1 billion mark during its opening weekend, because something like superhero fatigue isn't real. It's bad movie fatigue that is real, or bad superhero film fatigue.
And that's the thing. Real. Like, people saw what James Gunn did with Guardians of the Galaxy. I know it's weird to use him in this instance, but yes. People saw what he did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Now, he changed a whole lot, but honestly, he made them more interesting, at least for a couple of movies. And honestly, I would argue all 3 movies and the holiday special. But he made them compelling. He made them interesting. He put together mostly a team that had never actually been together in the comics, at least not all as they were, and made them feel like a family. Made a good movie. And a bunch of people who no one had ever heard of, which is why he chose them, made a pretty good movie, led by Chris Pratt, of course, and wrote a bunch of really likable characters with bad guys, but really likable characters. That he may have overplayed a bit and thought that he should do the same with Superman for some reason. God, I hope he doesn't do that with Batman if he even gets a chance to do anything with Batman. But that's the thing. If you make a good movie that will appeal to mass audiences, specifically the audience you already have built in, people who already know these characters and these stories, yes, you can do them one for one. Also, yes, you can get with the creators or the people who wrote said stories and ask them what they would have done differently if they had the choice, as has been done in the case of manga to anime to live action or whatever other medium. They've changed quite a bit. At the creator's blessing. And I'm honestly, I'm really looking forward to the One Piece Lego movie. Anyway, but that's the thing. Spider-Man's doing well because not only is it a pretty good movie, but it's got to do with Marvel, but not enough to the point. And see, that's the thing. Marvel Spider-Man, or Sony's Spider-Man, is a bit of an anomaly because it doesn't suck like all the non-Spider-Man Spider-Man movies at Sony, and it doesn't suck the same way that all the Marvel movies have, or the 2 Spider-Man movies. Well, Far From Home at least was god-awful. No Way Home, pretty good. This one, I really, really liked. I won't say loved, because love to me is like perfection for the most part. But it was pretty damn good. It was pretty good. Especially, I did love the action. It was really good, and I can't wait to see it in IMAX. Anyway, continuing on before I get too far into this.
People will open their wallets if you're providing them with a really good product. And then they followed up with asking, has this approach ever worked? And why do they keep going for the same strategy so many times? Yeah, the Halo campaign evolved main campaign is not necessarily bad. There are some changes. They did add certain enemy types from other games and weapons from other games, which I don't mind. It's just the NPCs that look very different, a bit of dialogue that is
by NPCs, she means the people that made the game.
different, designs like Cortana's, which are horrendous, and then the primary issue I had with it came in during the prequel missions that are filled to the brim with modern dialogue, girl boss modern characters. You really get a feel for what a modern Halo game would be like, and I want to burn it with fire. I do not want a follow-up. I absolutely love Halo. It is such a nostalgic game series for me, but let's be honest, Halo hasn't really been good since Halo 4, and Halo 4 I wouldn't say was particularly amazing. It had a lot of problems. It did a lot of good as well. It wasn't the worst experience we've ever had with Halo games, especially when you look at 5, and Infinite had a lot of problems too.
And the fact that they said campaign evolved instead of combat evolved kind of made you think that, hey, maybe the campaign will be good, or at least as good. No, they just added a bunch of really crappy prequel shit.
But yeah, when you see that they are hiring people that admit they, don't want to work with guns in their games, and that really they just hate Halo, it breaks your heart. So it says, we hired people who hate Halo. Having the Halo franchise was burdensome in a lot of ways, meeting expectations, for example, but it was great for hiring, O'Connor admits. Oh yeah, guys, because you definitely are having a hard time when you have to go to your job and actually do your job. Oh my goodness. Many of 343's problems were big, practical, logistical conundrums having to do with growth and recruitment. The studio needed to attract top AAA talent that was in high demand and probably already employed at other AAA studios. All of 343's staff came from AAA. The studio staff now represents over 25 AAA.
Can I say real quick? If you were promoting an atmosphere in this sphere, or if the gaming industry as a whole was promoting a good atmosphere to where people who had love for these properties or the art, we'll say art of game making, they wouldn't have this complication. They wouldn't have this complication of trying to get people hired at their fucking studios. People would be lining up. But the people who were probably lining up were straight white males. I was hoping that would work. And that's the rub, isn't it? Yeah, they probably had straight white males lining up the street, but not good enough. And how do I know this? Because every time I try doing one of the prompts from the group chat, it makes me black. Anyway, continuing.
A studios. 343 actually couldn't tell interviewees that the studio was
See how I tied it in there?
on Halo 4,
Anyway.
just that the studio was working on something involving Halo, and at this point in time, when they were making Halo 4, sure, they were looking for AAA talent, but look at how much the industry
Was
has
that too much?
shifted. They don't care about AAA talent anymore. They are willing to hire 20 juniors instead of one senior and one legitimate and solid and good game developer. That is not an okay situation to be in. We had people who we hired who hated Halo because of X, says O'Connor. But what that really meant was, I feel like this game could be awesome because of Y input that I'm going to bring into it. I want to prove it, and I'm passionate about proving it. So we ended up with a bunch of people who were genuinely passionate about the product. That is a huge advantage, and that helped in hiring and forming our team. So they admitted to hiring people who didn't care about Halo. They were like, oh, I hate Halo. Wait a minute, I can shove my worldview and propaganda into it. Okay, you know what? I will work for you and I will make Halo. This is not okay. You should not be hiring people who admit to hating the product, especially when the products before this point had been smashing successes. We were talking about Halo 1, 2, and 3. Those mainline entries did phenomenally, and so you're bringing in people
Even
who wanna
ODST.
change it? Yeah. Absolute red flag.
Wasn't as good,
and
but
then we
it was
also
well-liked
know
enough.
that back in 2024 there was a massive Halo controversy because a Halo developer could not tell the difference between real life and video games. A tweet from Nick had been posted, and it came to the forefront of Twitter. By the way, Nick has many different flags in his bio.
He said modern guns.
Again,
They're
he is
future
a
weapons, if
developer in
anything.
the
Come on, bro.
industry. He was at the time working for 343 on Halo Infinite. He said, honestly, I don't think I could work on a game that glorifies
didn't
or
read it right the first
fantasizes
time.
modern guns, COD, Battlefield, RB6. I've had moments I've struggled
Rainbow Six,
with
okay.
Halo, but the weapons and world is pretty sci-fi, which creates a large enough separation from reality. And look, if you personally are bothered by
PJ
guns
Skittles.
in your entertainment, that's fine. You're a human being.
Look, this is fine. This is troublesome. This is horrendous. These two together, bruh, they wouldn't be next to each other, first of all.
You are allowed to feel unsettled by this in a lot of cases. You're supposed to feel unsettled by what you are seeing on the screen. That's why so many games give you the choice between being good versus being evil. But you are working on a game that has guns in an industry where there are guns that are going to pop up.
And that is one thing I miss. Sorry about all the pausing. I knew I'd have a lot to say about this. That's one thing that I miss so much about. You remember when Western games were on the verge of becoming at least as good, if not better, to some people than Eastern games? I don't either, because they've been so fucking awful for the last at least 6 years, arguably 10. But there was a time. There was a time when they appeased everybody. Especially, and I hate to bring up BioWare again, games like Mass Effect. Games like Dragon Age. Hell, even all the way back to KOTOR. You could choose to fall in love with pretty much anybody. You could choose to be good. You could choose to be evil. You could choose to be neutral and really have no power set whatsoever if you're playing KOTOR specifically. But when it actually meant something, and honestly, I need to go back and play Web of Shadows again. I love that game. It's not great, but it's great. But just when your choices meant something, and then EA snatched up BioWare after, actually, I think it was right towards the end of the development of the second game, and completely ruined the payoff that was supposed to stretch over the 3 games. Then they made Andromeda. And then they made Anthem. Oh, God. And I know I've said it before, but I gave Andromeda a pass. I was like, oh, okay, the good people are working for Andromeda. And then a couple weeks later, I saw Anita Sarkeesian visits BioWare, and I was like, no. And then I had no hope for anything anymore.
stop being such a sensitive Sally and leave the industry. If he was just a normal dude, I would say, I completely understand this take, but Halo does have guns that look similar to real world weaponry, and so this argument doesn't really hold up that like there's enough of a separation with Halo. There really isn't. So if you're going to be a sensitive Sally, that's fine. You're allowed to have that opinion. Then leave the industry and go work somewhere else, or go work on indie games where you are going to be an animal who is just eating berries off of a tree, and maybe that will suit your sensibilities a little bit better. Let a legitimate game developer take the lead here. Feel free to give up your seat at the table, Nick, but of course, somebody like this only cares about their bottom line and virtue signaling on social media, which is what he is doing here. And it's just so depressing that they've hired people who don't care about Halo, and that's why it has fallen so far so fast. Halo Campaign Evolved was the 4th most popular game on Xbox at launch in the US, but only 29th on PS5, and it didn't do that good on PC, but the 4th Halo Campaign Evolved should have easily been number 1. Halo, years ago, would have dominated the charts. Everybody would still be playing it, but because there's no multiplayer, that is a massive turnoff. Because people know the general experience that they're getting, a lot of people are waiting to play it until it goes on sale. And when we look at the Steam numbers, I mean, they are not good. The game is currently sitting at 2,951. The 24-hour peak is 8,700, and then the all-time peak at release was 25,376. It's just not a good look, because this also isn't a full-price game. Yes, there's a deluxe edition that you can get for $70, but that is not the standard, and so they are making even less money on it than they could have. And it is just very depressing to see that Halo is in the state that it is getting modernized, that you are
California,
seeing
the state that's
people
in
be
California,
hired
that's
that
why.
hate Halo, and it's no wonder why Halo has fallen so far so fast, why Halo is in a state of disaster. You hire activists and they are going to push their activism into the game, and then as much activism as they're pushing into the game, you are going to lose twice the amount of players. So they made their decision, they've made their bed, now they're lying in it. Some of these people may still work at 343/Halo Studios, wouldn't be particularly shocking, but ultimately, it's no surprise to anybody that this IP has gotten derailed into oblivion, and you just hate to see this happening, because Halo was a part of so many of our formative years, I guess you could say, childhoods, teenage years,
Young adult.
into adulthood. You still loved it, but it is in a state where
I literally used to take a tube TV and an Xbox system to my cousin Greg's house and have LAN parties. It would be like, I think, 4 of us, I think, is what we could do. But it would be me, a couple of my cousins, and one of his friends, and mostly stomping my ass into the ground, but because I was the youngest. But yeah,
I can no longer defend
it was fun.
and just blindly praise Halo because of the name. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Show all the love to Miss Vera Dark. And who else did it? Rev says Desu. But they do a lot of really good work over there. I've been kind of fucking around up here, so let's see what I've been up to, shall we? Wait. Oh, I didn't save that one. Yeah. Oh yeah, this. If this is terrorism, what the fuck is this? And then, of course, me being me, I have to say, a result of, where'd I go? Where am I? Did someone else delete my comment again? This is a reaction and answer to it. That's pretty based. Hold on. We'll just do this. Meh. A result of using the funds to dig tunnels and kill Israelis instead of helping your own people. That's basically what it is. And I like what I say. I don't care. I don't care if it's sad. There we go. Bookmarks. And again, I agree. This is a deleted scene. It's basically me every time a new Spider-Man movie comes out. I don't care if it's bad. But I absolutely draw the line at Spider-Man 2, the video game. Marvel Spider-Man 2. Not great, but I am sad that they deleted that from the movie. It should have stayed in. I love how people will just put out these blatant lies. And then thank God for community notes saying, no Epstein file shows Netanyahu on Epstein's Island. His name appears only in forwarded news articles that were noted in the said quote-unquote files. Citizen Vigilante 2, set for next year. Yuva Bowl. It's probably going to be horrible. It's probably going to be a terrible movie. But like most of Yuva Bowl's movies, they're usually fun to watch at the very least. Wait, saw what? My post or Spider-Man? And then this is horribly disgusting.
Police officer around here. You're already about to break his neck.
Of course.
Crazy. I did not know how to react with that. I condone it.
Child marriage?
Yes.
Child marriage in the Middle East is still a very real problem. Afghanistan's Taliban just passed a law that formally recognizes it. So we staged a social experiment to see how the public reacts to a child bride.
You'll always be the love of my life.
That's wrong.
Your parents gave her their blessings.
My God.
What the fuck?
Ew, that's illegal.
This is perfectly normal in our culture. You should know that by now.
I love how they say it's illegal and not. That's horrible.
That's my wife.
Sweetie, you look scared. Are you okay?
She's perfectly fine. We're not married.
I hear that about talking to her. Is there anything you would like me to do? Right. You're in America. That's kind of weird.
We got her parents' blessings.
Does anybody know her parents?
No.
She's not okay.
She's my wife.
Okay. No. What?
Oh my God.
Is there a police officer around here? Blink twice.
This is mostly going to be people crashing out, and then they'll be like, "Oh, they're Muslims. Never mind. We'll walk away."
Experiment.
Oh, okay.
What was your first reaction?
This is wrong, and I could put, oh my God, I hope it's not a married.
You're already about to break his neck. I'm literally
Good man.
like tears.
He's very based.
That was crazy. I did not know how to react with that.
Her face is so sad, so I'm so nervous.
My heart almost came through my mouth. If this was real, I don't know how I would sleep tonight.
Unfortunately,
it is
girls
real.
as young as her are being married off every single day. For example, in Iran, it's legal. Girls as young as 10.
It breaks my heart. It makes me very sad and angry.
But I'll still vote for it.
No matter where it is, I don't think it's right. She's not consenting.
Because
she's not of age. Even
why
if she's in
not?
another country.
This is a big city. We're
So I
probably
get it.
liberal.
But I don't agree with it at all. I condone it. He should marry her, yes.
You condone this? Child marriage?
Yes.
Unfortunately, many of these countries, these young girls don't have
Weird.
anyone to advocate for them.
They want to make this country as evil.
It's extremism that does this to young girls.
Doesn't do this now. I think.
That's not true. This is happening in many Islamic countries around the world today.
If you can't stop it all over the world, how are you going to stop it now?
Just because it's not being stopped currently, that means you think it's okay?
It's not okay. I'm saying it makes sense.
You know, there's certain people who still say this isn't happening anymore, but it
I
is.
wish they
Everyone
hadn't
has
cut
to
him
be
off. I
honest.
want to know why he thinks it's okay.
People here that are against it.
People need to be brave enough to come here and make a change and stop that kind of thing from happening.
People need to educate themselves and stop being retarded. Anyway, and this is pretty good. I don't know who this is. Do I follow them? I don't. Okay. Radical Islam. Submit to Islam or I will kill you. Moderate Islam. Submit to Islam or he will kill you. Western Islam. To not submit to Islam or let us kill you is racist. That's basically how it is. Oh, this one's good. Lorena Bobbitt offers to help men legally compete in women's sports. For those of you that don't know, Lorena Bobbitt cut her husband's penis off and then allegedly either threw it out of a car window or down the garbage disposal. Even though I think this is funny, it's still horrifying. This guy started following me. He actually mistook something that I said and was like screaming at me in a post one time pretty much. And now we're friends, kind of. But anyway, that's going to be it for today, guys. I got to get out of here. It's going to be a long day. It's only me at work in my department. So, your boy's gonna be tired. He's gonna be tired. Just fire the goy beam right in my face. I heard Elon Musk is funding Citizen Vigilante 2. That would be fun. Yo, the fact that he's talking about doing an Odyssey just off Grok, funding Mel Gibson to direct the new Odyssey, and also funding Uvabol's Citizen Vigilante 2 is pretty awesome. I gotta say. I really wish, I want him to make a film studio or a gaming studio or something. He totally could. And he could build it off of one of his current, already in place corporations. I mean, can you imagine having the Tesla box in your house? I can. Like, if he did the whole thing, Tesla gaming system, Tesla computer parts, Tesla cars, Tesla phone, if they were good and competitive, I could get down with that. Can you imagine all of them, like, being in sync with each other? But that being said, guys, I'm going to get out of here. You guys have been great today. It's been a pretty decent show. I always like it when I have a lot more to say, mostly about gaming stuff, but also about politics. X movies, yes. I think it would have to be Tesla Studios. Because there's already X games, but there's not X movies. I think there's probably already an X Studios. It's just like one X. It's only a little naughty. But anyway, guys, sorry to cut it short today. I do need to get my ass out of bed sooner. But anyway, more on that next week. Starting next week, it's going to be much better. We're moving a lot of stuff out of the house. The house is going to be a lot less cluttered, a lot more clean, and things are going to make a positive turn. Get some stuff fixed around the house, and who knows, maybe by this time next year, we'll be in a bigger place with an actual little studio, so I can get some magic done. It'll be a studio / office, because by then I'll be working from home anyway. And I'll have more time to work on this. So, honestly, by the end of the year, that'll be happening. And probably not even that long. It'll probably be by the end of September. For that part, at least. So, a lot of good things coming up. But yeah, man, we'll share as much of that as we can with you guys. But until then, this has been Alfie Animus for the Associated Guest.